We begin this hour with our top story. 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory, where I'm live from, could see serious floods this year. Now, 6 states have been identified as high-risk zones. Flooding remains one of Nigeria's most devastating emergencies, worsened by the growing impact of climate change. The government says it is working to strengthen early warning and response systems. Well, joining me now is the Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Umar Ibrahim Mohammed. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you know, every year it's almost sounding, I mean, we're now sounding like broken records. We are here, you know, talk about the early warnings and what have you, and nothing much seems to happen at the end of the day. You still have many victims of flooding in different parts of the country. Now, let's start with the, you unveiled a 2025 annual flood outlook. Give us insights into that first.
Well, actually, the annual flood outlook has been on since 2013.
Right.
Immediately after the 2012 devastating flood. So now, the annual flood outlook actually prepares the stakeholders and the critical, likely affected areas in terms of from states, local government, down to communities, to inform them of the impending or likelihood of flooding that affects those areas. So that is the main reason why the annual flood outlook came up. And over the years, as we are seeing perennial flooding, now we keep on innovating new ways and measures to mitigate, to reduce. You can only reduce the impact of flooding. You can't stop it completely. And it's a phenomenon that nobody can handle it, except you just develop adaptation measures or resilience to it. So we develop measures to mitigate the likelihood of its impact on communities and social livelihoods.
What are some of these measures that you've come up with over time, and how effective have they been?
Well, actually, over the years, the flood outlook or the flood forecast actually has been documented under just prediction of the flood outlook.
Right.
But now we have identified areas that we feel if we come in, likely we may get a better understanding, from innovative and technological perspective to the local communities' innovative ideas on how they locally
can help themselves
develop their own strategies on mitigation. So now, first, we have so that was why this year we segmented the document into three different documents. Now, the first one is the forecast itself. The second is the risk communication, where we have identified a huge gap because the vulnerables, the communities that are likely to be affected, do not really even understand the interpretation of the annual flood outlook.
And the warnings.
So they don't, so there is huge gap, So we came up with this document to bridge that gap, such that we are going down to the communities, identified key actors within the communities, and speak to them in their own language, the dangers ahead of the likelihood of flooding that might occur, and at the same time study how their own preparedness methods are, at the same time their mitigative and adaptation methods. So we put them together, and that is why the third document is being produced, that is the flood mitigation and adaptation, such that we synchronize both to come up with a more robust way of building resilience and adaptation to the flooding.
Okay, if we were to peep into this, plans that you have on paper, help us understand, what communities, let's even look at it from the, community level. You say that they do have some measures, but you want to check if those measures actually work beyond just warning them and telling them, look, it's risky, you have to move from point A to point B. What are the practical measures that you are putting in place, to help these communities?
First of all, there is sensitization Now, after the flood outlook, we intend to embark on a massive sensitization across the nation where these communities are highly vulnerable. Now, after the sensitization, I told you earlier that we're going to understand each other in terms of adaptation and building resilience against the flooding. So now, unless you interact with them, you can't even understand how they are facing the flooding challenges.
Well, the rains are here already. Here in Abuja, I mean, it's rained in the last 2-3 days back to back, which means, are we officially in the rainy season?
Yeah.
And some of these measures that you're talking about, that means those measures should already be in place before the rains start.
Yeah, definitely. It's already in place. Just take, for instance, we have understood that after usual flooding takes place, people recover. Recovery takes time. Right. It takes years. Some they may not even recover at all. So we came up with a flood insurance program, whereby we are mapping out, and that is why I told you now the 2025 annual flood outlook is a community-based, no longer state and just local government-based, centering at risk areas in terms of buildings, in terms of roads, critical infrastructure, schools, markets. So now we are mapping the likely directly sectorial impact assessment, we call it. So now, whereby we'll map them out and give them insurance cover such that after the flooding, these people that are rightly affected, even if it's a farmland, livestock, or homes, can be put back.
All right. So what exactly makes these areas? I mean, you've named some 6 key states that will be, most impacted, including the Federal Capital Territory. What is it? Is it the topography that makes them more vulnerable, or is it, human behavior, or is it a combination of all?
Combination of
all. Where should the changes begin to happen, especially when it has to do with behavior? Where do the changes need to happen? I'm talking about what do we need to do? Take Lagos, for example. Every time I talk about flooding, I cannot help but think of the Ketu Alakbere area. That's talking about Lagos, where you have this canal, and when you drive through that road, on all sides you see heaps of refuse.
That's why you have
in the
to
canals
first of all,
Yes.
you have to first of all understand the cause of that flooding. There are flood flashes, which is caused by the rain. Then you have spillover of the tributaries. Now, if the tributaries are not properly silted, or in urban settlement, if you have gutters that are blocked, certainly flood may likely occur. So those are the things that we check, and we try to warn against and sensitize people to clear these places that is within the urban settlements. And at the same time, like in Abuja here, a lot of people, like developers, go to areas without actually getting the data whether that place may likely be flooded or not. That is the waterways.
Like you have the Trademore situation.
Like we have in the Trademore situation. Now they just go there and develop their properties and sell to innocent individuals without actually getting proper data. So those are the things that we're trying to advocate and warn against.
Okay. That sounds good. Hopefully, with these warning systems in place. But very quickly, before I let you go, I mean, early warning signs and the need to further strengthen, the response systems.
Yes.
From your, side of the deal, what needs to be done to actually strengthen, your work to make you more effective?
Yeah. First of all, collaboration. Collaboration with both critical stakeholders, then bringing on board state governments and local governments down to the communities. Now we need to sit down, look at areas of how to mitigate or reduce the impact. You can only reduce the impact. So collaboration between agencies and state governments is very, very key. That will strengthen the early warning system, and it will be more it will be more effective.
Okay, that's good to know. Umar Ibrahim Mohammed is the DG Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, otherwise referred to as NESA. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight.